How's it going, YouTube? We've got a fun video for you all today. Usually every single time before we enter into a major or an international event, the likes of Johnny Boy, CJ, Dazrin, Yummy Cheeseman, and Tates get together and provide their top 25 players on who's going to perform. And as a clarification, this isn't like the 25 best players in the world. It is how they think the teams are going to fare, how the individuals are going to perform going into the major. It basically tells us, hey, we're going to do our predictions based on an individual basis. So like I could say, you know what? OG isn't going to perform the greatest. Maybe they don't make it out of Swiss, but I think JNaps pops off. You can put JNaps high on the list, but then you can leave Nolly and calm out. Or you can say, you know what? I think that Furia as a team is going to do decent and all their players are going to be averaged out anywhere from like the 10 to 25 range. You know, whatever you want to do. There's different ways you can approach it. The general premise is that it is telling you where the players are going to be performing and where hypothetically you think they're going to rank. So instead of saying, hey, this is my list, what I usually do every year is different. I take all their lists and I put them together. The last time I did this was back before the World Championship, where they had all their lists. I took an aggregate. We even had to remove Tates from the list because Tates, he provided some of the craziest takes and heavily weighted some players that it just didn't make logical sense. We came out with the averages and it seemed pretty solid. A lot of people were like, you know what? I think a lot of this is accurate. So we decided to do the same thing. The crazy thing, though, is this time around, Tates had something to say about a particular player that really caught us off guard. If you haven't seen the clip, take a listen.
CJ, what's happened is you got on the EU broadcast and your eyes, they've gotten a little wishy-washy. All you do is watch EU nowadays. You're not taking out the rest of the world, but trust me, I am. And Raisebo, he's still that guy. The size of the man, the girth, just how
what?
Yo. So if you guys are missing out on that, make sure you guys go check out the full broadcast. It's a good one. But let's get to the brass tacks of it all. Let's talk about the actual numbers and tell you guys what we came up with. So with that in mind, we took all of their predictions from the guys top down. So Johnny Boy, Tates, CJ, Dazrin, and Yummy, we have given all of their picks. They even have their honorable mentions. And we took all of those names and we averaged out the players. So we said, okay, based upon these players, this is how much they have. We deleted Tates to say what it was with and without Tates' bias, which, again, Bates is known for putting NA players extremely high, leaving out some NA names. Even had Clears not on the list, but had Banana Head on the list, which, you know what? Maybe the team pops off. Maybe, you know what? He thinks that Banana Head is going to have a really good performance despite his team. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but we took all the numbers of all the guys, we put them together, we gave them an average, and then we organized a list. If they were not mentioned, we just gave them the 26th, the honorable mention, to make it even for everybody who was not mentioned, and it kind of just balanced all those out. There was a lot of players that were tied. Those players ended up not making the top 25 anyway. On top of that, then, we also took all of the players that were put on the list, so you'll see that kind of up here when we look at it. We took all those players, and we took, based upon their teams, the average of those three players and put them as a team on the list, which helps us determine realistically who is going to be in our top 4, our top 8, who's going to be battling in Swiss, all that kind of stuff, which I thought was a pretty interesting look at it. So with that in mind, taking a look at the results, this is what we have. So general consensus is that Vatira is him and continues to be him. What is it? The guy has not missed a regional grand final day. Like, he hasn't missed championship Sunday, I think, in 25 events in a row, I think it was. Probably not going to happen again. Pretty crazy stuff, but expect Vatira and the guys from K-Corp to be the favorites. And that's what everybody's general consensus is. They did the three-peat, but it's not just them winning everything in Europe. It's their play style. It's what the eye test shows. Stuff that you can't really measure by stats, but primarily the fact that they play a really aggressive game. They play off ball really well. They dominate boost control. They play very quick and they're very conservative. Like, they do all the things. And a lot of us, I think, in my opinion, before this team even, we got to see them play, I was like, this team will be the best team in the world on paper as well as otherwise. And I expressed multiple times on this channel why that may be. I am happy they're living up to the hype, but I'm also happy to see that they can bleed. They do have flaws. And because they play this super close, tight-knit play style, if things don't work out, say the touches don't really work cleanly, it's a domino effect. Maybe they get challenged. Maybe someone does beat them to the wall, which hasn't happened yet. But if it does happen, which is what I think Bates is hoping G2 can do, then the rest of the pieces fall apart. You know, first player is not there for the challenge. That means the second person who's following closely is now out of position, and then hopefully they can capitalize on that. But you say that, and Tao is still back supporting it. So, like, is it really going to matter? We'll find out. Or this major is going to be fantastic. So, going down the list, you see a couple things. Number one, G2 clearly being the top tier when it comes to their team for NA, as expected, and a couple outliers between First Killer and Jack making it in with Chronic to say, you know what, Gen G, we know on paper you guys have a lot of talent. Can you showcase this new playstyle that you guys provided in Qualifier 3 and bring that to the LAN event? We'll have to wait and see. Some of this has the bias as well of these players have stepped up and performed previously, and in compared to previous lists that we've made, you can see the real difference between the love and attention given to Beast Mode and Daniel. Now that they're no longer on that V1 roster, they've been paired with Atomic. You know, Sathu and the guys are trying to do whatever they can to push forward the narrative that, like, we are the real deal. We're NA's last hope, essentially. Outside of this list, I'm happy to see that there is some love and attention being given to some of these teams, like the Falcons, like Rule 1, and the guys from South America. While OC has continued to be basically pushed aside, and I am very interested to see Power. Pioneers and the narrative that Pioneers has had is Pioneers, while they almost didn't make it, have had better performing LAN players, while Power has done better online. And Power online looks absolutely incredible. They haven't dropped more than, I think, 2 games in an actual series in all their best of 7s. They're usually going 4-1 or 3-0 or 3-1 and stomping people. Like, Power looks really, really good within their own region, but the same thing could be said about Falcons. Falcons has looked absolutely dominant. You are looking at the twins in Rawas and Clears that both also had really good performances in other international competition, enough to actually knock out V1 from the World Championship. And you're pairing that with TRK, who I think is absolutely stellar and has been ever since he came in and they swept G2 in that first iteration. I mean, the Ahmad goal speaks for itself with Johnny yelling about it. So I think you're starting to see some love and attention from people giving the right due respect to these players from other regions. And it is no longer just a 2-region race. I think it's France, you know, and then from there, it kind of changes up. I would like to see NA compete, but my feeling is that the top 3, in my opinion, for EU are going to continue to perform with K-Corp, BDS, and Vitality. Gentlemates, I don't know how I feel. I think they, as you've heard me express, have a consistent play style, but their ceiling isn't quite there. With that in mind, I do think that they have players that perform better on LAN, Juicy being one of them. So I'm very interested to see what that looks like. You also have teams that are already boot camping. LG left yesterday. OG is in Lisbon already boot camping as well. You've got G2 already flying out. It was told on First Touch that their father, Robert, was Beast Mode's dad, was supposed to be on First Touch as a guest, but they were busy flying. So you do have a lot of these teams already migrating out. You're already starting to see that from the international side of the likes of Power and Pioneers. So these teams are trying to get that out there as early as they can, get adjusted to the jet lag, as well as get some matches against international competition, which, again, are the benefits of having a major in your region. All the EU teams like Magnifico and Oxygen and stuff that didn't make it get really good quality scrims and matchups to play during the lead up to the major. These people need warm-ups. These people need good matches that are going to be, hey, we can't play our direct competition. We need someone to warm us up before the games happen. And let's call it what it is. A lot of these teams, once they get knocked out of the event, don't have any desire to warm up a team or take it seriously. It's happened numerous times in the past. So the reliability of that isn't there. But if you have a team like Magnifico or Oxygen and stuff that have proven, hey, we are of quality, let's warm up against them, because to them, that's also an invaluable experience. So we'll see how that one goes. But I think overall, the list balances out pretty well. You're seeing, you know what, K-Corp, G2, BDS, and Vitality are your top 4. I wouldn't be surprised by that. It just depends on how Swiss lays out. You're seeing Falcons make top 8. You know, Gen G, we think probably going to be in that conversation as well. And then Furia as well. I think for your top 8, if these are your top 8, the only thing I could potentially see differently is maybe not all for EU. Maybe you see something a little bit different. But then you start to think, who would replace one of the EU teams? Would it be a Rule 1? Would it be a Complexity? Or are you going to see like LG or OG pop something out? It's going to come down to how Swiss plays out. Swiss is going to be the great equalizer of, you know what, one team may just have to run through the gauntlet because, you know what, they went 3-1 or 1-3 and then they dropped down to that 1-1 round. And like, who knows who they meet? That's a high seed. But The big decision is going to be who are the first 4 that make it into that top 8. That completely changes the narrative of things. And if you see one of these teams towards the top fall down, what happens if K Corp all of a sudden is in the 2-2 round? Like, chaos is going to ensue, and then you see the head-to-head for the 1 seed versus the 8 seed. Like, so it's going to provide some pretty crazy stuff. So we've got a lot of fun Rocket League coming up, and it's just a week away. So pretty exciting stuff. But that's what we've got. Let me know what you guys think about my aggregate list. I have it up again for a little bit more time. We even calculated it without T-Bates just to take some of the bias out. But realistically, it's actually pretty close. The Tier and Zen are still up top. First Kill and Daniel swap a little bit. Then you see the EU guys bump up a little bit higher. Atomic drops down a little bit more. You know, Atomic is here versus being, you know, here. Like, most of the spots are within 1 to 2 places, so it's not too bad. Between him and Johnny, they tend to balance each other out. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments down below. Always fun to do these. And if you guys want me to keep doing these in the future, let me know. But other than that, as always, if you guys enjoy the content, like, subscribe, notifications, turn those on. It's greatly appreciated. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.